friends of mine, there was like a group of girls who all got together to have a bat mitzvah party, and they were having it at a nightclub, which like at 12 years old, being able to go to a nightclub sounds pretty cool, right? So I was like so excited, and everybody in Memphis was invited to this bat mitzvah party because the girls went to like private and public schools. So it wasn't just Jewish teenagers. It was every teenager in the small town of Memphis, right? And for some reason, I didn't get an invitation in the mail, right? So one of the girls who was like throwing the party, who like, we weren't like the greatest of friends, but like we knew each other and stuff. I like saw her like earlier in the week, and I was like, hey, I didn't get my invitation to the party. And she was like, that's so weird. You should just come anyways. Like, don't worry about it. So I was like, okay, you know. And I remember I got ready with some of my friends before the party, and then we go to the party, and I go to the door, and I go to give the guard my name, and he says, you're not on the list. I'm like, check again, check again. And he looks back at the list as my other friends are walking into the party, and he says, I'm sorry, I can't let you in. You're not on the list. So how do you guys think I felt in that moment? I was devastated, right? I could hear the music. I could see people going inside. I was crying. I went back to the car. My friend's mom had to drive me home. She like went to investigate, and she came back and she was like, well, you know, there's a fire marshal. There's a rule. They can only let, you know, so many teens in at a time. Like, it's just because of the fire marshal. Which now that I'm an adult, I know that she was just saying that, you know, to make me feel better. And then the next day, like, my mom got some phone calls from some of the other parents, and they were so sorry. Like, they couldn't believe that somebody was turned away. But for me, that was kind of like the first time I ever experienced like being bullied, right? Like, you told me to come, but you intentionally like made it so that I didn't get in. So that was rough. Now I can laugh about it. I think it's hilarious. But back then, it really, really, really hurt my feelings. But looking back at it, I think it just taught me to like always make sure that we should be inclusive of everybody, and that we should never overlook people, right? So like, for example, a couple weeks ago, I was at a seminar, and we had to like write 2 letters to like other people we had met in the seminar. And instead of like thinking like, okay, who is the cutest person or who is the funniest person, my first thought was, who is least likely going to get a letter? And that's who I wrote my letters to, right? Which was awesome, because the chick who I wrote the letter for ended up giving me a book as like a present, you know? So it was kind of like this like really cool like exchange of giving. But it's always important to have empathy for other people.